right, let's get to it here. There's a lot going on, and again, good job by the Flyers last night. It'll be fun to see Lowry tonight, see what he's got as the Sixers are back at it. We also have not one but two what I'd call notable tweets yesterday, Eagles related, and in the crosshairs are Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, A.J. Brown, Philadelphia sports media, and to a certain extent, Philadelphia sports fans. Now let's get into it.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all. That's
good.
all. It's a lot.
Pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. So let me read them both, and then we'll react to both, and certainly look for your reaction today at 215-592-9494. So it was a few hours after our show yesterday, and Derek Gunn, who I think we all just consider a rock-solid, not only person, but, journalist, where, like on the Craig Carton thing, who knows? It's Craig Carton. With Derek Gunn, I put tremendous validity in what he puts out there on social media. I think he's earned that. Here's what Derek Gunn tweeted yesterday afternoon. And two different topics in here. According to sources, Jalen's big contract pulled in. Now, there's a little grammatical stuff here. It makes it a little weird, but according to sources, Jalen's big contract pulled in numerous directions on and off field, put him under a lot of pressure he didn't handle well. Big Dom suspended. Controls Sirianni's emotions on sideline. In his absence, Nick gets in numerous arguments with players, coaches during games. Now, so that was the Derek Gunn one. Then, late last night, matter of fact, technically early this morning, 12:01 a.m. this morning, from A.J. Brown's account. Now, Seltzer, can you give everyone the backstory as you understand it on the A.J. Brown account thing? Like, what? Like,
yeah, as much as anyone understands it, sure. So, last tweet from the account prior to the Super Bowl was a video of him. So it's his account. It's a personal selfie video of him. Yeah. Then during the Super Bowl, these tweets come out. If that was me, I'd be out of the league and this and that. And then
talking about the Travis Kelce
correct.
bump.
And then Darius Slade tweeted out, "That's not AJ." And then the account said, "Yeah, I took his account or whatever." And then nothing until this tweet last night.
Right.
I don't know.
So it's hard to know what's going on.
I assume it is A.J. Brown, but I don't know.
And it's got a couple 100,000
260,000 followers. Like, I doubt the account has been hacked for a month or 3 weeks. Or I don't know. There was weirdness around it, but we assume it's A.J. Brown.
I agree with that assumption. Now, you don't know for sure, but I feel confident enough to say this is likely A.J. Brown's own word. So it's 12:01 actually this morning, exactly 6 hours ago. A.J. Brown tweeted out, "Philly media is so lame. It's literally something every day. Then the fans believe the BS. They really should start raising the prices of microphones and cameras because you people will say anything for views. I see why nobody likes us because we don't even like us. Hashtag reality TV." All right. So there's a lot going on here. Let's take it one at a time, and certainly your phone calls at 215-592-9494. John, let's start with the Sirianni and Hurts and Derek Gunn. Like your reaction to that tweet, which we know is from Derek Gunn, on two different topics. What do you make of it?
We're sure of that one.
Yeah, we are sure of that one. What do you make of it?
I definitely believe that Jalen was pulled in numerous directions and he was under pressure, a different kind of pressure than he was accustomed to. I've seen it, that a young player who gets that big deal, and I've never seen anyone with a deal that big. It
meaning
makes
you
sense.
up close.
Yes, me personally. I have never personally seen what happens to your life when you sign a contract that's $250 million or whatever we're talking about, more than anyone has ever, I can conceptualize. It makes sense. I don't think that should be news to anyone. Jalen can do better in handling all of the other stuff.
Didn't fit the narrative, though, what was supposed to happen. Now, I'm not saying it's not understandable. I will say this. Part of paying Jalen Hurts specifically that much money was the belief that Jalen Hurts was rock solid.
Yeah, that
you know what I'm saying?
Like impervious to the pitfalls
that
normal quarterbacks could be. Yeah,
that's right.
Right.
Fair? I mean,
he's
that's fair
he's a
point,
human
right?
being. Yes.
Yeah, he's a human being.
And he's human. He is not a cyborg, not a robot. Apparently, yeah, there were some things that, he just didn't handle quite as well as he could have.
Here's the thing.
That makes sense. He's a young kid. Again, 25-year-old kid.
Right. Look, I wonder how much, and there is a lot to infer without really knowing. Okay, let's just be clear about that, because we don't really know what are the specifics behind this. I will say this. What I have wondered is, because we've heard a lot of whispers about this, did his teammates get turned off on certain levels of how he went about X, Y, and Z?
Sure.
Whether it's football preparation, which he was never supposed to not be 1,000% on, which maybe he was, maybe wasn't, I don't know, or how he carries himself as a person, relationships with others. I mean, we've heard about some frayed relationships. So did that impact the demise of the team? I will say this. A report like this from Derek Gunn, not to mention what Santa Liquido put out there, not to mention what other people have referenced in recent weeks, makes me believe that it is likely that his personality and the way of being bothered people in that locker room and caused trouble for the football team. That's my I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an expert on human dynamics, okay? But that's the way I sense it went down. Because I don't think this Derek Gunn report comes out if all is well. If all is well with the personality stuff, then it would just be as simple as, hey, he just kind of, didn't play as well this year. Go get him next year. That's not what you're hearing. You're hearing on the field issues, off the field issues.
Think about what Derek Gunn's saying here. It does sort of paint a different picture than I think we have allowed ourselves to dig into. Numerous distractions on and off field. Think about that. Being pulled in lots of different directions. He is under a lot more pressure than he was accustomed to. He's got a lot that's going on. His mood is affected. The way he's interacting with teammates, it's different. Guys talk about that. Hey, Jalen's different all of a sudden. Oh, it's got to be the money. Clearly that's the easy next step to take. And then, whispers happen. It just, this is what happens. Now, on the other front, Big Dom Big Dom gets suspended. Sirianni emotions on the sideline in his absence. Nick gets in more arguments.
This was more interesting to me, John. This was interesting.
Yeah. This is shocking to me. But it's also, we know that Dom is there under normal circumstances. I do wish that our coach could handle his own emotions on his own.
Right. And
without Big Dom?
And it's bothered me the whole time. All 3 years. The whole look, I think Sirianni is a good guy. I mean, I think it's pretty clear he's a good quality human being. So I have a lot of respect for Nick Sirianni and who he is. I want to be really clear, and I want to be very clear about that. I think he's a good person. And I think he's a good coach, although I thought he did a horrible job down the stretch last year. So frankly, I'm very confused about what level. I'm very confused about what level coach he is. But one thing I've been steadfast on the whole time, all 3 years, there's a lot about how he conducts himself I don't like. I just don't. I didn't like in Indianapolis when he makes a huge point of emphasis to try to shove it up the nostril of the Colts owner after he'd fired Frank Reich, who, by the way, now might not ever be an NFL head coach again. He's been fired a couple times. You got the situation in Kansas City when he stomps off the field and he's yelling at Chiefs fans. Some of the stuff, the visor with the numbers on it, some people like it, some people don't. There's a lot with the Sirianni thing that to me feels high schoolish.
He feels a little
immature.
He's a little immature for a head coach.
Yes.
In some situations.
That's what it feels, immature.
But this idea that he has an inability to get along with people without Big Dom present, I don't believe that. I do think that this is a byproduct of losing in a big way. It's not mysterious that it just so happened that Big Dom getting suspended, that was the 49ers game. That coincided with the entire downturn. People speculate, hey, the 49ers, that broke the Eagles. They got beaten so thoroughly. That's what did it. Well, maybe it was just the unraveling. And what you're seeing
clearly,
makes sense. The unraveling was happening. Yes. Nick Sirianni was getting into more scuffles on the sideline because it's more emotional, because while the unraveling is happening, the coaches are digging in extra and they're not sleeping as much and they're more emotional now. And this is all normal stuff that happens in the NFL.
Yeah, but here's what to me is not normal. And again, we'll take your reaction on all this at 215-592-9494. I'm not saying Big Dom getting suspended caused the Eagles to lose games. I want to be very clear about that. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is I think it's abnormal that a security person, or really anybody on a team, should his absence should cause the coach to not be able to control himself during games. Like, that's a lack of composure. Like, to me,
you can't make that jump. You can't say he was unable to control himself during games.
Well, first off, he's admitted. Hold on. Sirianni after the season admitted he's got to do a better job controlling his emotions.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's not on the record about that. He's clearly on the record. I would tell you, I'd put it at 1,000% when the season ended and the dust settled and they chose to keep him, that either Lurie or Howie or both talked to Nick about his conduct emotionally on the sidelines. To me, it was so odd. When he was yelling that one time at Reddick and then Devontae Smith's there and then the other guy's there, it's like something like, I get it, guys. I get it. You do want a fiery coach, Bill Cowher. We all like that kind of guy. Like, I get it. But then there are points where it steps over a line, and also becomes.
We saw that. I saw that in A.J. Brown's eyes at one point. I believe that A.J. Brown stare. I don't know if you remember the still shot that I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
it was
a meme after that. Yeah.
There was something amiss.
And let me just say this:
not a good chemistry.
Is it possible that it led to the Eagles losing games? Yes, it's possible.
Yes.
Because if the guys were ticked at the coach where they felt disrespected, look, guys, I'm all for a coach driving players hard, but there's a difference between driving players hard and doing so in a way that you lose them. It's two different things. There's two different things. Like Vince Lombardi drove the Packers hard. He didn't lose them. They worked their butts off for that guy, maybe out of fear.
I don't think Nick Sirianni's at risk of driving the players too hard. That's not what we're talking about here. Driving the players too hard?
That moment, he was trying to be tough guy.
Emotionally, potentially.
Yeah. I mean, look, we'll take your thoughts and your phone calls on all this. We'll get more into the A.J. Brown thing. I mean, it's a doozy on a lot of fronts. What do you make of the whole thing at 215-592-9494? Where do you stand with Sirianni? You know, this is probably the first show we've done since the show after they decided to keep Sirianni. We're like, all right, well, they've kept Sirianni and we reacted. But now it's been a couple weeks. Where do you stand on Sirianni a couple weeks later when you see a tweet like this from Derek Gunn, when you know Sirianni has publicly talked about the fact that, you know, he does believe he needs to do a better job with his emotions on the sideline? Like the whole the decision by Lurie to bring him back, the right decision, the wrong decision. Does this give you greater credence to believe they should have gotten rid of him? Or no, this is a guy that actually is a pretty good coach, and if he self-corrects, he can have a long and successful tenure here in Philadelphia. All of it on the table with you at 215-592-9494. Joe DeCamera, John Rich. It's going to be a fun show today on 94 WIP.